Well, if you like zebras and you like cheesecake, then this is the dessert for you. You need some Oreo cookies and some milk to start with. We're going to use a fork to dunk our Oreo cookies in the milk. Now, one by one, these are going to be placed into our cake tin until we have completely covered the bottom. Now, time to make our cheesecake. We need 400 milliliters of whipping cream. Whisk that up till it thickens. We like to use an electric whisk because it saves a lot of time. In a separate bowl, we add 200 grams of cream cheese. Give that a little whisk too. And one by one, we'll add the ingredients. We're going to start with 50 grams of sugar. Each time, whisking it in. Next, 100 milliliters of sweetened condensed milk. You see, this is a very simple recipe to make. You really just need a few simple ingredients and add them in one by one, plus a dash of patience. When that's nicely blended together, we're going to add 100 milliliters of milk to that. So quite small measurements. And using electric whisk really will save you some time because we need to stir it well in between each ingredient that's been added. We're going to add our whipped cream to that now and whip it all up together. Finally, we add 10 grams of gelatin. That will help it to set later on. We're going to pour that into 2 separate bowls. And in one of the bowls, we're going to add a generous helping of red food colouring and 10 grams of cocoa powder. Stir that so it's all completely blended. It should look something like this when you've finished. Now we're going to, one by one, layer our white mousse and our red velvet mousse. And you'll see it will create a kind of tie-dye effect. If you like to be creative, this is the fun part. Now we can use a cocktail stick or a knife to form a beautiful pattern. Again, why not use your imagination? And there we have it. So all we need to do now is chill it for around 2 hours. For finishing touches, we're going to add a few dollops of whipped cream all around the edge of our cheesecake. Cream does go fantastically well with cheesecake. It just takes the edge off the sweetness. Add some chocolate flakes onto that whipped cream and some cherries. You can use strawberries, raspberries, any fruit you prefer. And there we have it, red velvet zebra cheesecake. Fancy a slice? Go on then. All you need is 120 grams of dark chocolate cut into pieces. Melt that slightly in a bowl and add 50 milliliters of heavy cream. Mix that together and we have our chocolate ganache. Put that aside. Now we add 200 grams of cream cheese to a mixing bowl with 15 grams of sugar, 30 milliliters of milk. Whisk that away. We gradually add ingredients and give it a mix each time. Now we're going to add half a tablespoon of lemon juice and 5 grams of melted gelatin. Give it another mix, making sure it's a smooth-like consistency, and then add 120 milliliters of heavy cream and mix once again. Perfect. Now we have our main cream cheese mixture. And for the first layer, we're going to add 185 grams of cream cheese batter. We're going to pour that straight into our baking tin, which has been coated in baking paper to make sure that the cheesecake doesn't stick. Smooth that over. Make sure to fill all the corners and then refrigerate for 15 minutes. Now in a clean bowl, we're going to add 130 grams of the cream cheese batter with 60 grams of chocolate ganache. Stir it until it becomes a light brown colour. This is going to make our second layer. So we're going to pour this on top of our white cheese layer and smooth it out so it's nice and even. Then we're going to put it back in the fridge for another 15 minutes. In a clean bowl, get 115 grams of cream cheese batter and 100 grams of chocolate ganache. Stir it together, making a dark brown colour this time. This is going to be poured on top of our already set 2-layered cheesecake and smooth it over as usual. Now we just refrigerate that for 15 minutes, and meanwhile we're going to get a pot and add 50 grams of sugar, 20 grams of cocoa powder and give it a whisk. We're going to also add 20 millilitres of water, 140 millilitres of heavy cream. Turn on the heat to a medium flame and stir away whilst it's heating on the stove. Heat it until it starts to bubble away, and then you can turn the heat off. Add 60 grams of chocolate to that mixture, 2 grams of gelatin, and whisk it away until the chocolate has melted and the gelatin is nicely mixed in. Now our cheesecake is ready. Take the baking tray away and remove the baking paper, leaving a smooth layer, and pour on our cooled chocolate ganache mixture. Now make sure you do this over a baking tray. Let the chocolate ganache mixture drip down. Now on top of that, we're going to put a thin strip of paper across the middle of the cake and sprinkle cocoa powder over the entire surface of the cake. When we've done that, we can remove our strip very carefully and add our pistachios to the middle of the cake. It's the small things that make all the difference. So if you want a professional looking and absolutely delicious triple layer chocolate cheesecake without any baking, then this is the recipe for you. Cheese and chocolate. What more could you want? All you need is 95 grams of all-purpose flour and the same of sugar. Then we're going to add 20 grams of cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of salt to that. Mix it together and put it aside. Meanwhile, in a separate bowl, we will mix 40 grams of banana, roughly half a banana, and mash it up. We're going to mix it with 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of white vinegar, 40 millilitres of oil, and 110 millilitres of almond milk. Whisk that together. Now, it's time to pour our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. Mix it till it's perfectly combined. And there we have it. That is going to go into our baking tin. Pour it all in, and that's going to be baked in the oven at 180 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. Meanwhile, we get some coconut milk cream and we spoon it into another mixing bowl. Give it a whisk. 30 grams of sugar is going to go into a pot with 1 teaspoon of agar powder. Add 50 millilitres of water to that. Once it's dissolved and bubbling away, we add 350 millilitres of mango puree, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. Mix it together nicely. And take it off the heat, pouring it onto your coconut cream milk. Mix that together to form your mousse. This is going to go on top of our cake, which is ready out of the oven. Now, this whole cake is going to go in the freezer to set. And whilst that is in the freezer, we get some baking paper cut to size. Now we're going to squeeze some melted dark chocolate from a piping bag, making an ultra cool pattern. Once set, we can just lift that up and wrap it around the outside of our mango mousse cake. All the way around the outside, remove the baking paper, and there you have a beautiful border. Why not add some peanuts? And a few strawberries. Beautiful looking decoration. Sprig of mint for a spot of colour. And there you have it. Mango mousse cake. Delicious. So, in a large mixing bowl, we add 450 millilitres of whipping cream. You can easily buy double cream from your local supermarket. And whisk away until it's nice and light and fluffy. If you use an electric whisk, that would obviously save you some time. Now we melt 200 grams of dark chocolate buttons and add 2 egg yolks, 50 grams of sugar and 30 millilitres of water to another bowl. Whisk that up nicely. Now we're going to put that over a pan of boiling water. While it's heating up, we're going to keep stirring it, keep whisking away till it's nice and glossy and starts to thicken. Once it's the desired consistency, we can remove it from the heat. And we're going to pour in our melted dark chocolate. Liking the look of this already. Now we're going to stir that up nicely. Obviously we want it to be very well mixed. You can use a hand whisk for this part. And all we need to do now is add our whipped cream to the mixture. We're going to add it in a dollop at a time and mix. Now, how chocolatey and how dark you want your mousse is entirely up to you. It depends on how rich you like it. We've made it a nice light mousse because we like it quite creamy. The choice is yours. So we're adding in our cream bit by bit and it's all going in there, 450 millilitres of it. Time to give it one last stir. And voila, chocolate mousse. Now all we have to do is find a way to serve it. So we're going to add that to a food piping bag. We can experiment with the nozzles on these if we want to make different patterns. Let's melt some dark chocolate buttons. We're going to pour that into our silicone cupcake moulds. So we're going to pour that in to fill about 1/3 of our cupcake mould, and we're going to swish it around to cover the inside. Now you can see where we're going with this. This is going to make our chocolate cupcake moulds. Yes, so we're going to refrigerate those so they can set. Once they're set, we gently remove the silicone mould from the outside and we're left with an edible mousse cup. Delicious. So, time to add our mousse. We're going to use a straight nozzle for this one and swirl it around. And you can sprinkle decorations on top. We're using chocolate sprinkles here. And why not even add a little bit of fruit? How about a strawberry? Look at that, a party showstopper. Now, if you want to experiment, you can try using different shaped moulds. So we melt some more chocolate and this time we're using heart shapes. That's right, why not celebrate your loved ones or even for Valentine's Day? So exactly the same process. We're going to swish it around to cover the inside of our mould all the way up to the rim. Be very careful not to spill it over the edges. And then we refrigerate those so that they set. Gently remove our silicone heart moulds and we're left with just the chocolate ones. Let's use a different shape nozzle for this one. Being creative, you can really use any shape you like, whatever you think looks good really. Now let's use some heart sprinkles. Yes, why not add to the heart theme? And how about some different fruit? How about some raspberries this time? Look at that, perfect. So you can really go crazy with this idea. Every time just melting dark chocolate, filling your mould. How about even just using a plastic cup? We don't even need silicone moulds. If they're not easy for you to find and you don't have them kicking around the cupboard, you can just get a simple plastic cup. That's right. So going to take a bit longer here to make our mould because it's obviously much deeper than our cupcake holders. So in the same way, we're going to put those in the fridge to set the chocolate. Do you know how to get the chocolate out? Well, all you do is tip the cup upside down. Yes, it really is that simple. These are very deep, so we're going to use a very large nozzle on our food piping bag this time so we can fill them easily and quickly. You can really have fun with these. You can do any shapes you like. You can use any fruit you like. Let's add raspberries and blueberries. Give it a nice bit of colour. And there you have a delicious dessert in no time at all.